Ladies and gentlemen, I'm meadsy69. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to have a tank versus tank video where we look at two very similar tanks and we come with the outcome, what tank's better. So today I've had a look and what two tanks can I compare. So today we are going to compare the RU251 to the HWK 30. Both of them are very, very similar. They are similar. That the HWK 30, or Hawk, I don't know what it stands for, is basically a premium RU251. So what is better? Is the tech tree version better, or is this this premium version? Now, it's been a long time coming, to be fair. The RU251 has been around for a while. It's a very, very popular tank. It is the fastest tank in the game, and it's about time they actually brought out a premium version of it. Now, there has been rumored previously, years ago, that they're going to bring like an RU251 Defender, which I think will be great as long as it has sort of the same speed, but we haven't seen it yet, but they have got this WHK 30. So we're going to look at the stats of both tanks and then get into a game, of course, with both tanks. So we are going to use BlitzStars to compare both tanks, which is probably one of the best websites to use if you do want to compare a tank with another tank. Everyone uses BlitzStars. If you haven't already seen BlitzStars, go check it out. It's got everything. Hall of Fame, if you get a high damage game, you can upload Hall of Fame. You can do just about anything with BlitzStars. So as you can see, we've got both tanks next to each other, and you can see the stats compared. So the HWK 30, DPM wise, nowhere near as good as the RU251, almost 300 difference. So 2,763 with the RU251 and only 2,024 with the HWK 30. Penetration, however, is slightly more on the HWK, and the alpha is exactly the same. Of course, the rate of fire for the RU251 is a little bit better, like almost, what, a second and a half, pretty much better. Well, I say a second and a half, but yeah, the reload is just over half a second better, so the rate of fire is a little bit better, of course, as we just said. Caliber, they're both 90 caliber gun, and the shell velocity is a little bit better on the HWK, but not too far off, to be honest. Aim time, however, on the HWK is much, much better at well, I say much better, it's better at 1.36. Aim time's still pretty decent on the RU251, and so is the gun dispersion, a little bit better on the HWK. So yeah, that's pretty much the main stats. The speed, not as quick. Obviously, of course, the RU251 is the quickest tank in the game, but yeah, the HWK at 70 is still not too bad. So it loses DPM, it loses speed, but it does have better, where are we? It has better aim time, and it has better dispersion. But to be honest, I would prefer to lose that. I would prefer to lose that and have that DPM, because the RU251 isn't, or any light tank really, isn't a tank that you play from distance. It's a tank that you do, well, occasionally anyway. It's a tank that you go spot, you know, you have to go spot, see where the team is, and then you can relocate, and you could bully tanks. They're all about the speed, and it's about bullying other tanks and spotting them for your team, not so much about damage, and they're not really a camper tank. So I don't mind losing the aim time, and I don't mind losing the gun dispersion. So having said that, stat-wise, I do prefer the RU251. So we're just going to get into a couple of games, nothing special by all means, and just to see how both tanks play compared to each other. So again, RU251 is much better because of the speed. It can get up to that speed a lot quicker, and it can get to your destination a lot quicker as well. Now, one thing I didn't actually see is the RU251 actually has like a higher HE pen. I don't think the HWK has that. So yeah, that's a bonus as well. Actually, I'm not 100% sure. So let me just go back. because that is one thing I didn't actually check. So as you can see, the penetration on HE for the HWK is 102. So yeah, the HE is both the same. So yeah, I didn't even know that. So yeah, lucky I checked. So yeah, the HE is actually pretty nice. Like, I do like the HE, and now I know that the HE on the HWK is a high HE as well. I'm definitely going to be using that a lot more than I did, and that is something I'd always do using the RU251, is trying and get that HE out, because it is a high pen, over 100 mil of HE pen. So if you do come up there against the rear of some tanks, then yeah, always try to use that HE, especially if it is a tier 8 or if it is a tier 7, because not many tanks from the rear have over 100 millimeters of armor, so you can actually pen most things with your HE. So yeah, do bear that in mind, because not a lot of people actually use HE on these tanks, unless obviously it's a big gun, then yeah. But so unless it's a tank with no armor, like a Borzik or anything like that. But yeah, try to use that HE more. You know, I've got 10 loaded, and I think that's a decent amount, where a lot of people will only have sort of 4 or 5 loaded. But yeah, maybe even 10's not enough. But yeah, do load the HE on both tanks, as you can see, because it really is worth loading that HE. So the thing with both tanks is the armor. Of course, both of them have no armor whatsoever, so do bear that in mind. And if you try and HE tanks, they will HE you back, and just remember that. And they will do probably more, well, they're going to do more damage than you're going to do to them. So do bear that in mind. It is a light tank, but it's not a light tank that you can just rush in YOLO, because you will absolutely get wrecked, because you've got no armor whatsoever. Now, the one thing I do prefer on the HWK is the camouflage. I think this legendary camouflage is absolutely hideous on the RU251. It is so bad. But you know, people like, I get people do like these kind of camos. Now that Wargaming have introduced like proper camos, I do prefer them, and hopefully that some of these tanks will get the camouflage like the Borzik or the Grill, hopefully soon, and Wargaming start doing more of them kind of camouflage. So that's the game in the RU251. To be fair, we made it look pretty easy, and yeah, you use the speed, you know, 80 kilometers an hour speed for the RU251. Use it. Don't feel afraid to run around the map like I had to there. I had to completely run around the map, and sometimes you're going to have to do that. And even if the time is ticking, you've got to remember you are the quickest tank in the entire game. So you can use that for your advantage. There's no tank in the game that's quicker than you. So if you want to run away, no one's catching you. Of course, they're going to sort of stay close to you, some of them, depending on their speed, but use that to your advantage and use it as a light tank. And that's what I always say with light tanks. Not all light tanks, of course, but light tanks are all about spotting. It's not so much about damage. So don't feel ashamed if you are in the game with sort of 1,500, 2,000, sort of 2,500 damage. Don't feel ashamed that you're not doing the damage, as long as you're doing what you should be doing. And that is sort of opening these tanks up for the team, making them spotted, because you are a light tank. You can spot them very early on, and you can spot them before they can spot you. And at least if it's early on in the game, you know where they're going. If you get to your location where you want to go as soon as possible using the 80 or 70 kilometers an hour speed, very early on, your heavy tanks and your tank destroyers will know where the team is. And if they need to change the direction that they're going, they can change the direction that they're going very early on. They're not going to get to where they really sort of wanted to go. Like if they're all going to go left, and then you spot the team really early on, and the whole team's on the right side, at least your team can sort of re-divert if you want, and then decide where they actually want to go. But I do love these kind of tanks, you know. I do like both tanks, the HWK and the RU251. But if I had to pick, of course, I would pick the RU251, and it's not just about the speed, but I think the DPM is quite important as well, especially if you are going to use it as a light tank up against a heavy tank that you can Circle of Death, up against other tanks that you can sort of perma-track as well, because the reload is better and you can just sort of keep them there. So yeah, overall, I definitely prefer the RU251. I do think it is a much better tank. However, this ain't too bad, to be fair. The tank ain't too bad. Yes, it doesn't have the DPM, and yes, it doesn't have the speed, but if you know, the aim time's still pretty decent. The dispersion's still pretty decent, but yeah, I prefer the speed, and I prefer the DPM of the RU251. So let me know in the comments what tank you prefer. If this is a tank that you don't actually have, but you do have an RU251, honestly, you're not missing out too much. You're not missing out. Don't feel the need that you have to buy this tank, because the RU251 is actually better. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What tank do you prefer out of the both? Let me know in the comments. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'm Meadsy, and I will catch you all soon. Bye bye.